Okay, picture this for a second. Imagine the poet of the cosmos, Carl Sagan, and the engineer of our future, Elon Musk, just standing together, side by side, watching a giant rocket land itself. What are they thinking? Well, they're not just looking at a piece of tech. They're both staring at the same question. What's the future of human consciousness in this huge, silent universe?
And that brings us to this really profound idea which Carl Sagan captured so perfectly. He called our home a pale blue dot. I mean, think about that. A tiny, fragile stage in this massive cosmic arena. Everything that has ever happened, every king, every peasant, every invention, every war, it all happened right here on this little speck of dust floating in a sunbeam. It's humbling and, yeah, kind of terrifying when you really think about it.
So that raises this huge question, right? If everything we are, all our art, all our science, all our love, if it all exists on this one single vulnerable world, what's our job? How do we protect this incredibly precious, maybe one-of-a-kind flicker of consciousness from just being snuffed out by one bad day?
And that leads us straight into our first section, a flicker in the dark. It's all about this shared realization coming from two totally different angles about just how fragile our existence really is. This is where you see how two completely different minds landed on the exact same conclusion. Sagan saw our world with the soul of a poet, this beautiful, lonely speck. Musk, on the other hand, sees it like an engineer. He calls Earth a single point of failure. It is the ultimate example of putting all your eggs in one basket, and that basket is flying through a cosmic shooting gallery. Totally different words, but the exact same urgent problem.
So the problem is pretty clear, but what's the solution? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the Great Escape Plan. The solution has a name, becoming a multi-planetary species. And the logic? It's actually super simple, but so powerful. If humanity is living on 2 planets instead of 1, the chances of a single disaster, an asteroid, a supervolcano, or something we do to ourselves, wiping us out completely drops to almost 0. It's basically the ultimate insurance policy for consciousness itself. The source material for this explainer uses a perfect modern analogy for this. We need to create a backup drive for civilization. Just like you back up your computer, the plan is to copy everything that makes us human, our knowledge, our culture, our DNA, and save it on an external hard drive. And that hard drive's name is Mars. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is just science fiction. But it's not anymore. And that leads us to our third section, where we're going to look at the tools for a new world that are literally being built right now to make this happen. So how do you actually do it? Well, there's a clear plan, a real architecture. It all starts with Starship, the giant reusable vehicle. But here's the key, step 2, orbital refueling. You need a gas station in space to top off the tank for the long trip. The source calls this the absolute game changer, the thing that turns this from a dream into a mathematical reality. After that, you'll land, and then you get to work deploying the infrastructure to build a city from scratch. And here's where the vision gets even bigger than just one company. It's a whole ecosystem. Think about it like this. SpaceX is building the transportation system. That's your ride to Mars. But what do you do when you get there? Well, that's where Tesla comes in with the tools for civilization. All its work on robots like Optimus, on AI, on sustainable energy, that's not just for Earth. It's the starter kit for building a new society in a place that's trying to kill you. Okay, so a project this huge needs an absolutely unimaginable amount of money, talent, and just willingness to take risks. So that brings us to Section 4. What is the engine of progress that's powerful enough to actually drive this thing? Now, the source material makes a really bold argument, which we have quoted right here. It claims that the only system on Earth that can possibly concentrate enough money and brain power to pull this off is the American free market. And specifically, it points to the big tech ecosystem as this unique engine that's just designed to fund huge risks for potentially world-changing rewards. And when you look at that ecosystem, you start to see it's less like a bunch of separate companies and more like an interconnected operating system for humanity. You need NVIDIA's chips to power the AI that simulates Starship's flight. You need Google and Microsoft's massive cloud platforms to manage a mission this complex. And you need Tesla to apply all that AI to the real world, to create the robots that might actually build our habitats on Mars. They're all basically interlocking gears in the same machine. And the fuel for this entire machine? Well, it's measured in trillions of dollars. According to the source, the capital market isn't just shuffling numbers around on a screen. It's directing this massive, concentrated flow of energy towards one goal:
breaking humanity's physical limits. It's funding the brute force innovation you need to literally leave the planet. So what does all this grand cosmic talk have to do with us? That brings this whole story right back down to Earth and into our final section, voting with your capital. The final takeaway from the source material is it's a really powerful one. It reframes the idea of investing in this whole ecosystem. It's not just a financial transaction anymore. It's an active participation. It's like you're casting a vote for a very specific kind of future. Your capital is basically saying, yes, I want to help build the civilization that cures diseases, that expands our intelligence with AI, and ultimately becomes multi-planetary. Which leaves us with this final thought. We are, as the source notes, maybe the luckiest generation in all of human history. We get to not only witness this incredible turning point, but we can actually participate in it. So the question for all of us is, looking at the tools we have and the challenges we face, what kind of future are we going to choose to build?